Okay, let's do a little reaction video here. Since Rich has taken his channel down, I'm not going to be able to do very many of these. So I'm looking at Zav Girl. This is from 4 years back with Tara Mystery Maverick.
A question about it's kind of sensitive. I know that the boys were buried together, and when they were trying to match the fingerprints for the boys, that they had not um, taken fingerprints from the boys, so they had to be exhumed, and
Yeah.
the fingerprints had to be retained. How long was it after they had been buried that they had finally exhumed the boys, and
Uh,
went through that vigorous ritual that they had to go through, that was so sad, to get the fingerprints from the boys?
yeah, they exhumed the boys in 2000, so that would have been around 4 years after the murders took place. Um, and you're right, it is sensitive, and it upsets Darlie Lynn terrible. But
Yes.
they did have to exhume the boys because they wanted to find out whether or not. Now, when you think about this for a minute, folks, okay? So Darla Lynn has always said she's innocent, and now she had to sign the order to have her boys exhumed. She signed that order, and um, she didn't want to do it, but she wanted to make sure that that print wasn't of them boys, because a lot of the detectives were stating that that fingerprint may have been from a small child. So they exhumed the boys, and they're not supposed to, but unfortunately, the casket leaked. The vault was filled with water, and so there was a lot.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I can see because that tree that's right behind, I mean, it's probably 3 feet away. And you can see where the roots are coming in and around. You can see it in the ground around it. And it was only a little bit of rain around that when I went there. And it was just you can see when me and Bezier get back in the truck, it was just mud. So the whole vault being wet like that, I could see it. I mean, it was just a muddy mess around that whole area because of that tree and those roots.
Lot of deterioration to the remains. They actually had to cut the hands off and rehydrate them in formaldehyde.
That's right.
Um, and they were able to obtain some of the prints, but some of the damage was so bad to the bodies that they weren't able to retrieve all of them. Sad to say, but the ones that they did get did not match J85.
85J.
So that's what I can tell you about that.
Did- What about? Didn't they say that the one thumbprint or fingerprint matched a woman, like it was a woman's print? Did you
Well,
hear
they
that?
said yeah. Well, here's the problem, okay, with fingerprint analysis, and I'm sure Tara could tell you this.
Yeah.
You kind of have one.
I started working at the barbershop and realized I don't have any insurance.
So,
This is not good. Through healthcare.gov, I was able to find the right plan. Anytime something comes up, I'm covered. They literally had
Shot with it, okay. And what I'm talking about is this: if you run the fingerprint through, let's say, APHIS or whatever you're going to do, it's going to damage any DNA that's on it. But yet, if you go to try to pull the DNA off of the fingerprint, you're going to damage the print. So it's kind of six one half does the other. You got to figure out what's going to serve the most justice. Now the DNA that was on J85 was seriously dilapidated, and they really couldn't get much of a profile with it. But with J85, they were able to run that, and that I can't go into that real heavy right now, but I do know they have had some hits with it.
Okay. I also have a question about when the
So Rich is wanting everybody to know that that print is identifiable and that they've gotten some hits with it. Well, let's let this sink in for a little bit, y'all. They've gotten some hits off that print.
courts finally approved for all of these items to be forensically retested. I've read that there was an upwards of anywhere from 10 to 12 items that had to be forensically tested. And I know that it it seems to be that it bears the cost is bared upon the defendant. How was how has the funding been gotten or retained for these items to be
Did a lot of it on Facebook. I mean, they actually had one supporter by the name of Anella Waters, and that's all she said. Give to Darlie. If you said hi, Anella, say, hey, I'm doing great. Give to Darlie. Give to Darlie. And we really started getting on them about Darlie needs money for this, and Darlie needs money for that, and Darlie needs. We started getting on them about that because they were tests. They were taking money for tests that had already been paid for. We caught them doing that at $11,000. We stopped that transaction, and because the test was already paid for, and they were taking advantage of a guy named Elias, who actually owned a Whole Foods. He's a pretty wealthy guy. He sent Darlie a couple $100 a week, and we stopped him from that. And so they really stopped with the donations on Facebook asking for money. Especially when they're asking for money, and then we find out that they took some of the donation money that was sent in for a test and made sure that Mama Darlie had a day at the spa. And then they're posting pictures of her and Robbie Key sitting on a brand new Corvette, but asking you for your money.
forensically retested and things of that nature?
Well, I'm not 110% sure how the Innocence Project does. I don't know if they provide that or not, but what I can tell you is that Darlie Lynn has a lot of great supporters that have made very sizable donations. I know one person, I'm not going to mention her name, in North Dakota that sent $10,000 for a forensic test. But I want to say, but I don't know this for sure, but I want to say that the Innocence Project provides a lot of that. I want to say now, at the time of trial, you're exactly right. The defense, like if they wanted to call experts, well, you got to remember, Mulder's bill was $250,000, I believe. Okay,
Yeah.
It was 200,000, and he claimed that he only got 90 of it.
to take the case. But any experts that they call in was extra. So they had to
Right.
pay for that. Now they didn't even have enough money to pay Mulder in full, let alone being able to hire any type of expert or anything like that to come in. They really ran into a lot of problems with that, and it's very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I can tell you on that. I wish I had a better answer for that.
I was kind of curious because I know that, I was like, wait a minute. I know that they have to have the cost. They have to be able to pay the cost to have all of these items, retested and all that stuff. And I just thought, where's the funding coming from for this? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
there's been a lot of supporters and close friends with Darlie Lynn, even some family that have made very sizable contributions to it. Darlie Key, I feel so bad because I mean she literally sold everything she had, literally
That's her
everything.
daughter,
Yes,
though.
that's right. But I mean, I feel bad.
Well, she went from the house over on Armstrong Lane in Plano, where she lived there for a while, and it was probably about a $200,000 house, just a normal, typical house. But then when you see her years later on The Wrong Man, when they go into interview Mama Darlie, it's a really nice fucking house. I mean, so looked to me like she stepped up.
That she's had to go through that is what I'm referring to.
I like how, whatever anyone's opinion is of her guilt or innocence, I like how her family stands behind her very solid.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, one of the first things I told Darlie Key, the first time I talked to her, I said, "You are a hero of mine," because she don't take too much BS from anybody. The problem is, and if she hears this, Darlie Key, I apologize. But she's getting old. She has some health issues that she has to deal with, and she's exhausted. And you know, I told her some time ago, I said, let me and Tara take care of this for you. We know what to do. You know, we know the case. Me and Tara will do this for you. And she said, thank you. But I'm going to tell you, every holiday, Darlie Key gets a hold of me, and she always says, thank you so much for all your guys' hard work, all your efforts, and everything you do for Darlie Lynn. And she, every year, Christmas, New Year's, Easter, every holiday, she always sends me a message thanking me.
Wow.
And
So
this is the family that Darlie came from. You know, this is the mother that raised her, and they're very family orientated. I mean, that
Actually, no, you know, if you look into Darlie's background, her mother wasn't there a lot, and Darlie did a lot of the mothering for Dana and Danelle. And even Darlie Key says, well, Darlie taught me how to be a grandmother.
that takes a lot, you guys.
That's a big family too.
It's just my opinion. You know, obviously I don't know her. You know, I'm just forming my opinion.
Don't you think it's interesting how Cyrilda has like had Darlie's back as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Cyrilda, which is Darren's mother, she did have Darlie's back, but she was also raising Drake. And if she felt, let's say she felt like Darlie was guilty, she was not going to put that on Drake. She was not going to go against the grain and try and raise him, because how would that work? Everybody else is saying his mother's innocent, but the person that's got custody of him and raising him is saying she's guilty. I think she just went with the flow.
Cyrilda, for those of you who don't know, is Darlie's mother-in-law. So this is a blood relative of hers. Those babies were blood to Cyrilda. So she would want the person who killed them to be in prison.
That speaks absolute volume.
Right. And they're not just going to stick behind.
You're not going to stand behind someone that did that to your grandkids.
She stood up and lied about the bruises. She said they went all the way up her rib cage, all up into her nipple, her whole side, and she didn't have a single bruise on her ribs or her side. Cyrilda stood up there and lied. And when I did the interview with her, she made it perfectly clear that Darlie, you know, the IVs before when she was having Devin caused that kind of bruising.
It's whether it's your daughter-in-law or not. I mean, most people don't have a very close relationship with their mother-in-laws, but in general, so
no, that's true.
Stand by her is massive. That's absolutely massive. Even after she split with Darren, she's always believed in her innocence.
That's true. That didn't stop it. And if you guys weren't here in the beginning, she unfortunately passed away not too long ago. And that does speak volumes. The family is, you know, they're very tight in that way, and they know Darlie, right? So they know how Darlie was with the kids. They know how Darlie was.
They know what Darlie shows them, because Darlie lived in her own house. And I know that, let's just, you know, in my first marriage, if I would go over to the father-in-law's house or the mother-in-law, I'd be on my best behavior for sure. Same with my wife when she comes, you're on your best behavior.
Was with Darren, and they don't think she did this. They've seen the evidence, they've seen the house. And from all the little tidbits that I've gotten from you guys during this live, it almost, and I don't, you know, you don't have to answer if to save the integrity of this last appeal, please do not feel pressure to answer this. But what I'm hearing is that it's someone that's familiar with the neighborhood and familiar with the house.
They have to be.
Yeah, I agree.
What about the point of the reports of a suspicious vehicle being in the neighborhood, where people had made the reports, but they were never really checked into?
See, they go all with that. that they were never really checked into. Okay, I'll do this. I had the same conversation with Miss Sully not too long ago, and she said, "Well, they didn't follow the leads on that black car." I said, "Okay, you're the investigator. I make you the investigator right now, and this is what I'm going to give you: the clues. Here's the clue: a black car, 4 doors. Go." Where would you look? No one ever named a make and model. No one ever got a license plate. No one ever got a description other than a man driving the car. They couldn't tell you what to go look for. So you can't go look for something that you haven't been given the information of what to go look for. Because I'm damn sure that if they got the plate, right, and they found the car, that they would at least go question the person that was driving it, just like they did Angela Rickles. When she called, they went over and talked to her about it. The neighbor that called like 6 days later. Sure, they would have went and looked. Why wouldn't they? And people say, well, he's trying to cover for his son, Chad Patterson. He had a car like that too. But what kind of car was it Chad Patterson had? If they were trying to cover for Chad Patterson or anything like that, they wouldn't even mention the car. So again, you're the investigator. We got a black car that was in the neighborhood a couple days before the murders. It's a black car. We need you to find it. Go. Yeah, that's the same dilemma that the Rowlett Police Department had.
What do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
Well, let's put it this way in a nutshell. We know whose car that was now. I can't tell you whose it is, but it's someone of suspicion. But we know whose car that is now, or was. But let me also have you make this note: that particular car was crushed 3 days after the murders.
Okay, he's saying that Barry Fife had Chad Patterson's car crushed. And Barry Fife. He's trying to bring it back to Barry Fife, right? But here's the thing. If Barry Fife had the car crushed to keep it away from anybody so they wouldn't catch him, then how do you know the car got crushed? Who told? They come up with some crazy shit. Maybe Rich will get under this and explain some of this bullshit.
Oh,
what?
okay. I had no idea.
So, did they look into it? Like, why didn't I feel like they didn't look into the intruder?
Well, the prosecution didn't.
What car is this that we're talking about right now?
We're talking about the suspicious black car that was seen roaming
That
the
was
neighborhood.
reported.
It's either blue or black. Most people said it was black.
Now he says it's either blue or black. A minute ago he said it was crushed. You don't even know what color it is a few seconds later.
Basha Javel's seen it. Helena seen it.
Karen Neal.
Karen Neal seen it. Other people seen it. Basha Javel said she's seen it the one day, and the guy got out of the car and went up and was looking through the window into the garage.
Basha Javel never said that. You see how misinformed Rich Prater is sitting on this panel, and this got 6,300 views, and within 20 minutes, he's talking about they've got a print on a thing on 85J that the car got crushed. I mean, he's ridiculous. This is ridiculous, Rich. You ought to get under there and clear some of this up.
Yeah, I heard stuff like that. So what happened to the people in the car? So the cars just right, but the people, where are they at?
I know where they're at.
Oh shoot!
I promise you, we know where they're at. And
he wants everybody to think that they know who was in a car that was never described to the police at all.
It's being looked into.
Okay,
but do you think there is a?
That's 4 years ago, y'all.
chance that you have hope, right? You have hope that something could happen and exonerate Darlie, or
I personally believe that she will eventually be exonerated with a lot of the new information that's available that has been figured out from the old information that either wasn't investigated at all or sloppily investigated or wrongly investigated. Things are definitely on the up and up. I promise.
Okay, good.
I also have a question. I noticed that on one of your episodes you were talking about that, you know, the people that may be believed to be involved in the incident.
Yeah.
There was another murder that happened 3 weeks later. And those same people apparently are also interconnected.
There's no interconnection with these people. This is ridiculous.
To the neighborhood.
What can you say about that?
I can tell you a little bit. You're referring to Michelle LeMay Self, okay? She was
totally different story. Has nothing to do with Darlie.
She was found dead on the shoreline of Lake Ray Hubbard, about 2/10 of a mile from the Routier house, about 3 weeks after the Routier boys were murdered. What I can tell you is minute, but I can tell you a little bit.
Okay.
Her husband at the time had the same type of affiliations that Darren had. The same exact people. And we can prove it.
Whoa, that's, yeah.
Look, they're just, whoa, But what are the affiliations, Rich?
I do know that right after, let's see, how can I say this? Right after the murders, that Darren and Michelle's husband were seen going to somebody's place of business together.
This bullshit that he puts out. This bullshit, Rich.
And her husband is Christopher J. Self.
Yeah, that's him.
Wow.
Here she is.
I see you've done your homework.
Yeah, we got
yeah. There's that's good. That's good because it really wasn't that difficult to track this stuff down.
Yeah.
If you listen,
what about the other angle, Rich? There's also, like I was saying, it could be the whole Darren situation could be a bit of a red herring, and it could be that that's just coincidence that all that stuff was going on, it could be that because Darlie had other issues with people. She was apparently confronting Glenn Mize. She confronted him about he was having an affair. He was cheating on his wife. And
see, here's the thing. These supporters put this stuff out there as if it's a fact, right? So one of the things that they would ask Darlie and Darren during their investigation is, do you have anybody that's angry at you? Wouldn't that be the perfect time for Darlie to say, well, I did confront this Glenn Mize because there was an affair going on and blah, 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 blah. That didn't come out till years after. So why wouldn't they present that to the police right away? Because there's no proof of it.
And obviously Darlie at the time.
With Basha Javel.
Yeah, with Basha Javel. And obviously he didn't want he didn't want people talking his business. So it could be something like that. The target could have been Darlie, and it could have been, to have her mouth shut, once and for all, stop talking my business.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Tara,
Well,
that's
the
so.
word,
Maybe he sent
the word
someone.
is, the word is, okay, that Michelle LeMay's self had gotten, this is speculation. I want to make
Okay.
this clear. But
Okay.
the word is that Michelle's self had gotten some inside information somehow that of something behind the Routier murders, okay? And her and her husband were not doing well. As a matter of fact, they were getting ready to file for divorce. And they had a daughter. Michelle had a little baby daughter, okay? And she was actually, if I recall, was it an aunt or a grandparent that she was actually staying with? And the word is she was going to blow the whistle because she found it to be just terrible as to what was going on. Michelle had some problems with alcoholism and drug addiction. She was trying to get herself cleaned up and she wanted to get away from all these people. And the word is that she was going to go to the police and blow the whistle on the whole case, turn the whole thing upside down. And she was silenced as a result. That's speculation. I can't prove it. How I wish I could.
You can't prove it. That means that you'd have a woman that was sitting there knowing about 2 kids that had been killed and didn't go to the police right away. Are you ridiculous? This is ridiculous, Rich. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
If I could get a written statement on something like that, I'd be tickled pink. But as of right now, I haven't got that, and I don't think anybody else has either. But
Rich,
that's still an area of concern, clearly.
Rich, are you from around Rolette?
Yes, I live about 20 minutes from Rowlett.
Can you tell us a little bit about the town and take the temperature of the town in 96 for us around the time this happened, surrounding the case?
It was 96. It was an upscale town, almost a yuppie town, if I may be so bold.
Okay.
Very low crime, very low everything. It was just an upper middle class kind of town. Now, today, it's not as great. But one thing that needs to be recognized is the next township to the south of Rowlett is Garland. Garland is
A mess.
a nuclear waste site compared to Rowlett. There's a lot of crime, a lot of murders, a lot of rapists, a lot of bad things. And I mean, it's, these towns are right next to one another, very close. Now, as far as
Right, Marianne.
Okay.
as far as
Whoa. I just saw something. This is the one that comes to our groups. So that can't possibly be Sully, because that's 4 years ago. But they're saying State Trooper Glenn Mize threatened Darley on 2 occasions. But they just say this in social media. Darley never went to the police and said this happened. These people are saying that happened.
Glenn Mize, he was somebody of interest early in the case, and a lot
No, he was not.
of people, bring his name up. He recently passed away. And I always find it very interesting. And I sent this to Tara and Mr. Phillips when I got him. When I got
Just pause it.
It said in his obituary that he was like an expert at making knives. I found that very interesting, and I sent that to Darlie.
Okay, see how he leaves it out? Blacksmithing, gunsmithing, hand-milled knives, spurs, and a variety of blacksmithing. That's a whole art. It's not just making knives. So what I want to do is
Key too. But anyway, with Glenn Mize, he did have affiliations with law enforcement. He did have a crime history, violent crime history. I know that he used to smack his wife around in violent rages. And Allison Hennessy actually testified at the trial, and that was Glenn Mize's stepdaughter. Allison Hennessy used to frequent the Routier house because she used to babysit the boys sometimes.
see the Allison name there. But this is interesting. He retired in 2002.
Allison Hennessy, according to her friend, what was her name? It was Renee something.
Stanley.
Used to say that Allison didn't particularly like Darlie Lynn, but yet she testified to the fact that Darlie Lynn used to pay her in cigarettes and pot to babysit the boys.
Also, at one point, there was a report that there was an incarcerated individual who had said that he had some inside information that was about the crime in itself. Was there ever any validity or weight found to be held with his statements?
I think the story is interesting. You're referring to an inmate. He went by the name of Arkansas.
Yeah.
I don't recall his real name. I got it written down somewhere.
Okay, I gotta get off this for a minute. I'll do more later. Tell me what you think. Rich, why don't you respond to this?